Welcome everyone to the second part of the Attacking 3 collab between Yannick on Chelsea and the Attacking 2. We welcome back Yannick, of course, and Andy and myself, as we were talking in the first part about strikers, and now in the second part we will be concentrating on midfielders, potential wins in the midfield. If you haven't checked out our first part, which is on the Yannick on Chelsea podcast, then go and have a look at that. The link is in the description. And without further ado, we're going to get straight into this, boys. So, midfielders, we have been linked with Nicolo Barella. We have been linked with Barella Paredes, if I pronounce him correctly. And there have been one or two others, but those are the most predominantly
rumored.
Yeah, referred names that have been coming out out of Italy and other English outlets. There have been talks that there could be both coming in. Now it does seem as if Barella won't be coming, but Paredes, that was the newest news coming out this morning. I want to hear your boys' opinions on the two. I mean, what can we expect of Barella or Paredes? What will they contribute? What areas do they play in? Will we have an improvement even on our midfield in the moment? What do you think? Take it away, Andy.
For Barella, I think we've said it already when we had Sadiq on. Make sure you check out that episode as well. We've said it that Barella is maybe Jorginho Jr. In regards to how he interprets his midfield role, plays in a deep role, provides the assist to the assist, is a very versatile player, can pass, can tackle, can dribble, can also play in various different roles, but is not really a goal threat. In that regards, we can't really say that he is someone who is thought about to be an understudy for maybe Kante, but rather to be a direct replacement for Cesc Fabregas. Not necessarily a provider for assists as Fabregas was, but there's hardly any players about that are as good as providing from deep positions as Cesc Fabregas is and was back in his heyday. That's Nicolas Barella for you. He's very young. That's why he's also the more expensive option out of the two. And then there is Leandro Paredes, 3-4 years older than him, more experienced, of course. Argentina international, played under various managers, or I say featured because he hasn't played a lot, but that's not a shame if you're a midfielder in this Argentina team, playing after strikers, after midfielders like Di Maria or something. That's not a shame. He's playing in Russia at the moment, St. Petersburg. Played for Roma, a bit of a stinky attitude. Ended his spell there, and he went to Russia. Not a thing that worries me. Good players over there. Also, a player who has more to his game, more assists, more goals, and maybe something that we can be looking for, or we should be looking for, because we don't score too many goals from midfield. As maybe the rumors were that we get both players in would make sense, as they are not the exact type of player. And we want, of course, maybe an additional midfielder, as we might be thinking about that Mateo Kovacic is not staying over his loan spell. So he might be a direct replacement for Mateo Kovacic.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think you make some very good points there, especially in describing the two players. One thing which I think is very interesting, and I'll be handing this over to Yannick for this. As you said, Paredes is like more the natural replacement for Cesc Fabregas, even if he can't contribute as much assists like Cesc. But he's going to be more or less limited in our system to that Regista rule, which will be the third, the midfield at the back of that trio. Barella can play anywhere. So even if we'd say, okay, he is a bit younger, maybe he needs more experience, although he's still a captain already with 21 years of age, that is quite impressive, even if it's just Cagliari. Wouldn't it make sense to shell out those, what was it, 50 mil, something like that, on Barella to get him in, as he could play anywhere in that midfield, and not actually probably nearly the same amount on Paredes. They'd want about that kind of money, Zanet, on someone who's just more or less bound to that one position. What do you think, Yannick?
Well, I got a few things to say on this. Initially, when we were linked to midfielders, like Andy made a good point about maybe the Kovacic exit, but I was thinking, we are sort of stacked for midfielders. I was thinking maybe not in Sarri's mold, but Paredes does have 3 goals and 2 assists in 15 matches this season, which is, I think Barkley's got that output in less games, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know we're all pissed off with Barkley at the moment for conceding possession, but if you want goals from the midfield, neither of these players, I think it looks like Barella's got 1 goal in 18 matches with no assists this season, and 5 yellow cards and a red card this season already. So I don't know if there's a discipline problem there for the 21-year-old. I know you just said, Jimmy, you can be a bit more of a utility player in terms of playing across the 3 in the midfield, but if he's playing across the 3 in the midfield and not Regista, then surely he hasn't registered 1 assist. He's only scored 1 goal in 18 matches. Our other 2 centre mids do have the responsibility and the onus to get forward and assist and score, which it doesn't look like Barella's doing. That being said, in the press conference when he was referenced to Sarri, both players were referenced to Sarri, I think. His eyes did light up a little bit when he talked about Barella, but he didn't talk about him. Oh, yeah, and sort of a little smile cracked on his face, and maybe that's a player he knows well. But I guess if you chaps know more about him in terms of ability than me, I just look at the numbers and in this instance, discipline to get 5 yellows and a red already for the young lad in Italy. Obviously, Italy's a more competitive league than Russia for Paredes. Saying that, I've just looked at Paredes. He's got 7 yellows and 1 red. So
the thing is, with both of those options, Paredes has got disciplinary issues. He's more of a Costa mold, so he'll get him.
That could be good though, right?
And he might actually do something stupid sometimes. Although it is worth noting that Costa never got a red card.
Yeah, mental, absolutely mental. Yeah.
Regarding Barella, just to quickly explain that, he's a very, very aggressive player. There was actually an interview with him a few months ago where he said he sees himself playing in the Premier League one day because he is more of a Premier League player than he ever will be a Serie A player. He's aggressive. He likes to tackle. And that's the thing. He takes chances. So he more or less he takes a risk in tackling into an opposition player, and that can of course get you cards. But I agree with you about the output. That does seem as if it could be a problem. Although it does seem that he does take on shots quite frequently, and he has hit the crossbar or the woodwork, all in all, quite a few times in this season or the last one as well. So, yeah, but the thing is, Mateo Kovacic, of course, he will have to go properly. And you already mentioned that he may leave. What do you think are our chances? I mean, has Kovacic done enough at the moment, up until now this season, to make a case for, you should buy me. I feel at home here. Do you get the impression that he feels at home at Chelsea?
Does he feel at home is not really the point. I'm judging him by, I think he hasn't shown enough. He has shown something in the early stages of his spell. Coming into the Chelsea team as a substitute against Arsenal, I remember that day we watched the game together. I was hopeful. I was really thinking we actually got a good deal here. I was actually thinking about this game. He was quite new at this point, and I thought we had a clause for him. As we well know now, we don't have one. But Real Madrid is buying young midfielders now in Brahim Diaz from Manchester City. So maybe reading into that, they don't want Mateo Kovacic back. So maybe also in summer there will be a bidding war for him. We won't get him cheap. That I can tell you for sure. So 40 million plus, I reckon. Is he worth that? if he shows something more in the second half of the season, I'm happy to acquire him for that kind of money. But if we can get Paredes or give Barella a crack, I'm more happy to do that.
Can I just talk about Kovacic? I think he's absolute class. Personally, I think he's so good. He doesn't score goals, and that's obviously his biggest downfall. But watching how he works with the press, how he advances in with Kante, and how good he is defensively, he was so underrated in that game against was it City when he did so much defensive work. I think Nizar Kinsella was just tweeting about he's been amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it can't be games where it's one of those things where just because he's not doing, even though we've seen him do like Maradona rolls and turns away from, there was like an amazing gif when he was like dancing around City players. He's so technical on the ball. He dribbles. He's got that. He's the same height as Hazard. He's got that low center of gravity as Hazard. For a centre midfielder to be doing a winger style ball carrying, but in the middle of the field, but he's not stupid. He doesn't do anything stupid, and he will pass it. And he is really good at pressing, and he's really good at defending, and he can turn over possession. I know what you're saying. I disagree, and I think he's done so much. If he just scored 3 goals, we'd be like, it's just because, I was going to joke about Barella saying, Barella's only scored 1 goal in 18 matches with no assists. But there's still 1 more goal than Kovacic in that time. Do you know what I mean? But I think on everything else, Kovacic, to me, looks Galactico quality in terms of what he does on the ball, and more importantly, what he does off the ball. I don't think that can be stressed enough. His movement and closing down spaces and pressing and tackling and discipline. He doesn't get books really. I think he might have a couple of yellow cards in all the playing time. But compared to these 2 lads, he's a bloody saint in terms of discipline. And that's my opinion on Kovacic. I would love to have him. I wouldn't cry for him if he goes, because it means Sarri's got a plan. He's getting Italian boy in. Ruben's rising up the ranks. Barkley might sort his head out. I don't know. But like in terms of quality, I think loads of clubs would kill for Kovacic. And I think there would be a bidding war.
Tottenham will be in for him. I'm telling you that. I think if he doesn't end up at Madrid and he doesn't get bought by us, I think Tottenham's going to go in for him because they didn't spend last summer and they need him. I could very much see him going to.
I'd hate that.
Yeah, I think as well. Paris would be in for him because they've lost now Rabiot almost certainly. It's just a question if he goes to Barca or to Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich want to hijack the deal. I've heard today, but yeah, he might be someone for
everything. That bastard. Sorry, I just have to. Sorry.
But yeah, but let me chuck something else into that. When we acquired 2 midfielders or even 1 in this transfer window, what does it mean for Mason Mount coming back next summer?
Good point.
Yeah. Jesus, yeah. See, I'd very much like Mason. Talk about needing goals and assists from midfield. Frank Lampard 2.0 is floating about. You've got to think he's got to come back in the team, surely.
Just to bring back to the Kovacic, but because you mentioned Mason Mount, happy birthday, Mason Mount. You're not.
And happy birthday, Sarri.
And happy birthday, Maurizio Sarri. Yeah. But bringing it back to Kovacic, I think the thing is with his goals. And I'm going to throw this right back at you two. I don't think he has been as good as he could be. I agree with what you're saying, Yannick. He really is a phenomenal player. He showed that in the Man City game. But of course, Maurizio Sarri's system needs that 3rd midfielder to score goals. And that hasn't been the case. Especially, it becomes even more evident because our strike isn't scoring. And that makes the need for that 3rd midfielder to score even more so. The case. So I think Kovacic would be grand in our system, but then N'Golo Kante couldn't play. And N'Golo Kante is actually growing into this role. He's
more so than he is.
2 shots. I mean, he had more space than normal, but he's actually getting better and better. And we know what this player can do. And I think that he could actually get goals into his game, add that to his game. While Kovacic at Inter, Real Madrid, and here now, he just doesn't score. That's not a part of his game, and that probably never will be. So will that make sense, shelling out 40, 50, 60 mil on the player for that? And with Barella, even though he has only scored 1 goal, he's 21 years old and he's extremely promising. He's already an Italian international. He's the captain of his side at 21 years old, and he's shown everything. And if Gianfranco Zola says, we need him, I trust Zola to see quality when the opportunity arises. So I think he could be molded into that, because Kovacic is already 25, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That 4 years is a lot in football, especially at that age. So who knows? Maybe he's creating the chances at the moment, shooting a lot, but just not scoring the goals. And that could happen at Chelsea, especially in this system. I don't know how Cagliari play, but what do you think? Could Nicolo, I'm always trying to say Nicola
Barella. Can I just quickly
develop into the player that Sarri may see in him? Andy.
Well, yeah, I give it to Yannick, because he wants to say something bad.
I was just gonna say in my defense, because your original question to Kovacic is, has he done enough? I don't think he could, for the player he is. I don't think he could have done any more. He's like class. I think it's can the system afford to have Kovacic? I think that's the actual question. I think that's the actual. If he could play in Jorginho's role and pass the ball quicker and do a bit more, I think he's a world-class player, and it's nothing to do with his quality. I think, systematically. I'll let Andy take your question just really quickly. In my limited knowledge to the player in response to that would be, I think Kovacic isn't a Sarri signing. I think they said, look, we've got this guy from the Courtois deal. He's a bloody worldy footballer. Sarri, just as a yes man, was like, yep, fine. He looks absolutely amazing on the ball. Let's see if it works. But if he and Zola are looking at Barella saying, yes, he can fit our Sarismo orchestra, then my limited knowledge would be, yes, I'm game. But Andy, pass it to you, mate.
Just one or two things to Kovacic again. I think he's also a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's just not the player you want in that spot, in that particular spot.
I agree, I agree.
And he would be, if there was the Real Madrid of 1 or 2 years ago, from Zidane coaching, he would be the perfect replacement for Toni Kroos once he's turning old, because in that deep position, the way he receives the ball, the way he distributes, the way he dribbles, he can do it all, just not scoring goals.
We need a 27-year-old Nainggolan in that position, really.
Of course, that would be great, actually. And actually, that is a name. So we make the rumors so that you don't have to. Nianggolan, he was actually chucked out of the squad like 2 weeks ago or something.
Interesting.
Why not?
He's
already over 30, so that.
I mean, it's dumb. It's just the player in that mold that always scored double figures from midfield every league season, like a bit of a Lampard, score like 40-yard absolute rockets, and he was a bit of a warrior in midfield, but just got loads of offensive output. Anyway, Andy, I'll let you carry on, mate.
Yeah, and as for Barella, Cagliari, they only scored 17 goals in 19 games, and it's absolutely not down to him as a deep line, not even playmaker, as a deep line midfielder. It's absolutely not down to him that they've scored such a little amount of goals. But at the same time, only as a team that maybe is as default and fights Israeli. They've only conceded 25 goals. That's, I think, 1.3 goals a game, which is not bad because there's high scoring sides in Serie A. It's not a goal dire league, not at least for the last couple of seasons. So if he contributes to that, and I think he does, that's also something I've seen a lot of times this season, that we got overrun in midfield. If he is someone to provide us a little bit more stability, especially in the center, because that's some criticism I have for Jorginho, that he is a good player in the defensive phase, but maybe not as good as we thought. And he gets overrun at times, and has sometimes a very a kind of difficult time when he has to understand where he has to position himself, especially when Kante is high up the field, is pressing and gets overrun, and then you sometimes see him in the center of the park looking towards other players and doesn't know where to position himself. Maybe Barella could add something there.
Yeah, we know what Jorginho is good at, don't we? He's good at receiving and releasing the ball straight away. That's what he's good. He's like a fucking i7 processor in terms of functioning speed. That's why Turismo likes it. It's fast passing. There's probably not a player better in the world at releasing the ball so quickly after receiving it than Jorginho. And like even if that is sideways short passes, he can't do the Cesc Fabregas, maestro long passes, but he's so cerebral at how to get rid of that ball so quickly. You never feel like you have to go man on to Jorginho, do you? Because the ball's already out his foot.
Just to add to that with the Jorginho, and that's the thing. While I'm in such a pickle here, because I don't know if I think Barella would be the better choice long term, but for now to actually replace Jorginho when needed. Paredes. The thing is with Paredes, he drags in the defenders. He makes this extra touch so that they come in. They try and attack, and then he could just bam. He can outplay them there, and then unleash a ball which can split up the defense or link up the play because he's just more powerful than Jorginho. While Jorginho, when he gets the ball, he already knows, okay, the pass is going to go there, and he's quick thinking, as you just said. Paredes offers something different, which I actually would arguably say works better in the way we play Sarri ball than was the case at Napoli. So I think that Paredes would be a very sound signing for the current Chelsea. Of course, if we develop and become more like that Napoli side, then Jorginho is then again the better choice. It's a really difficult situation we find ourselves in. But Paredes, for now, I think would be a really, really good choice as Regista, better than Barella.
He's bigger, I've just looked at his height. I've just looked at both the comparative heights of Barella and Paredes. Barella is a lot littler. Basically, he's quite small in stature as well. So, and like you say, he can be quite tenacious player, maybe set up for the Prem. But if you want to look at the tangible facts in front of us, for me, it's a bit more naive to the midfielders than you chaps. Looking at the output numbers, looking at the physical build, and looking at maybe what could help. He's 24, is not old by any means, but it's not too naive and young. He, on a sort of surface value, would look like a better purchase, in my opinion, from without watching them play.
Resale value. So actually, if it wouldn't work out, he could theoretically get sold in 2 or 3 years, and he'd still have a high resale value, which would be maybe a good choice. Barella, of course, would have the same, but I think it would make more sense to get Paredes. But that's something that the coaches will decide, or actually not the coaches, it'll be the board.
Yeah.
I think one last bit here for today will be if we were to get Barella and Paredes in, we'd probably. Fabregas is out, Drinkwater's out, anyway. There have been some mumblings that theoretically, if both would come in, and Room Loftus-Cheek has been
injured.
Getting better and being in Sarri's good books, and he's trusting him, that Ross Barkley could leave in the summer. He was, how much? 70 mil?
15. He goes 15 mil.
That is nothing. He has shown glimpses of what he can do, and he is on a long-term contract. So maybe this summer would be a good opportunity to, for example, let him go to, I don't know, Everton. No, not Everton.
I was kidding. It is that.
Leicester City.
Yeah, but it is that tier of club, isn't it?
Leicester City, because Leicester City have Iborra left. Andy King will be going, and they have got not that many in midfield. So maybe he will want to go to Leicester City. That would be that tier where maybe they pay 30, 35 mil for him. Would we be taking that so that we could make space for him? What do you think, Yannick?
Yeah. It's funny because next thing you'd be saying, Drinkwater is an English international. We could probably go to a Leicester, couldn't he? On Barkley, he has been pretty. No one can fault Barkley for effort, and he had echoed so many times. He had that sort of reign of form, 3 goals, 3 assists in 3 games, and not even 3 starts. You know, and he did look like he came on. He's just put his head down. He's willing to score the equaliser in the 94th, 5th minute. He does look like he could be a really great player. We've got him for 15 million. We nursed him back into incredible fitness. He looks like incredibly fit now. He's on a long-term contract. He's a good age. He's played in like Europe now. He's gone with us. He's played in loads of Premier League games. He's back in the England squad like since coming to Chelsea. Like that's huge. He had a great game for England against Spain when we won 3-2 whatever, and we scored those 3 goals. He had an amazing, beautiful long pass to Kane. Everyone was frothing for Barkley again, not least Chelsea fans. Obviously, he's gone off the boil a little bit. I would kind of be a bit bummed to see him go, but not really. But, you know, what I'm alluding to is, here to answer your question, is I would not be shocked at all to see him go for like 40 million to that sort of, you know, sort of tier club, you know, like sort of a 10th to 6th place Premier League team, because he'd be a massive signing for them. And it'd be worth a lot of money. So yeah, if it needs be, chaps. But again, we don't have time to get into it today. But it might English quota, homegrown quota. We've got problems with that. So yeah. Anyway, I agree. It would be worth a lot of money.
I don't think 40 mil, but 30 or something would make sense. But anyway, I mean, one of the major issues has been consistency with him. What do you think, Andy? I mean, that has been the crux of everything regarding Ross Barkley. It's just that major inconsistency, what Everton fans have already been clamoring for years about.
You see, I want to end it on a bombshell, because I can see here's something happening in the summer. And if you're saying Ross Barkley can go to Leicester, I think Ross Barkley actually can be a world beater at Leicester, because for one reason, teams tend to drop extremely deep against Leicester because Jamie Vardy is so quick. And with Jamie Vardy in the front position, there is one player who always gets in behind it, and that is Wilfried Ndidi. And Wilfried Ndidi takes the most shots in the Premier League from outside the box. If you get Ross Barkley in that position, Ross Barkley is... He loves it. If he can do one thing, is taking shots from distance. If you put him in there, he can score double figures in the Premier League and look a world beater and make... Again, Chelsea look stupid for letting him go. But he can't deliver at Chelsea, and he can deliver at Leicester. I'm sure for that. But yeah, let's see. I'm happy for him to stay. I'm happy for him to leave. I'm not too gutted if he leaves us in summer.
So if Barella and Paredes would come in, would you rather have those two come in and Ross Barkley leave in the summer, or would you rather have only one of them come and Ross Barkley stay?
Well, I think we can extend the question to Kovacic not coming to Chelsea and Barkley leaving for these other 2 players, for Barella and Paredes. I take Barella and Paredes.
My answer to that question would be what Sarri reckons for the system, because I love Kovacic. I think he's class on the ball. I think if Barkley could, you know, stay in the England squad, score 8 league goals for Chelsea and get 4 assists from midfield, even if that's like semi-rotation, I'd love that. Obviously, there's the homegrown quota. But, you know, if these players are what Sarri wants, and he feels like this is the missing link to Sarismo's full glory in the Premier League, then, you know, but I don't think it is. I think he knows Barella, and I think the club are just looking at midfielders, and we could be in a merry-go-round here. So just to be contrary, I'd keep Kovacic and Barkley.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting perceptions of that. I mean, isn't it great speaking about midfield and attack and not having mentioned defence once in our last videos? I mean, that has been like something that we've been clamoring about for years, and for once, that isn't actually not the worst part of our play. And I think that says a lot about Maurizio Sarri, because we have conceded a few stupid goals, but it's great to see that our defence has actually improved.
Shock, right? Isn't it?
But it's shocking, no, it's good. But of course, that's for another video. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, I think we've had some interesting points on midfielders. We've had both your say on who should be coming in or how that may work in the midfield with the players we have or could still be coming in. I think we'll end it on that note, as we're already unfortunately out of time. Make sure, once again, I want to reiterate, make sure to watch the first part of this video on Yannick and Chelsea's podcast. And subscribe to both our channels. The description, the links will be in the description, and make sure to tune in for the next episode, which will probably come next week at Thursday, Friday again. We'll be actually recording more episodes than we planned initially. It was 4, but now we will be doing more because we just love each other. It's
so true.
Infernale that has been.
And also, if we sign a Cardi, we'll do an extra episode.
Exactly, yes. So, yes, once again,